This is Pam of Ancestral Musings, and today I'm here with Raphael.
Yes, Raphael Polk.
And we know not where this is going, but we're just going to just have a conversation. So I met you at the Fusion Fest, which if you have never been to the Fusion Festival, you need to go. It's where in Orlando over Thanksgiving weekend, art, culture, different countries get to showcase their art, their music, and I met you. You were there vending.
With my wife.
Yes. And we started talking, and there was like this connection because I was like, oh my God, we got to hook up. We got to do something. So for 2020, part of what I am doing, and those of you that know me know that I do it all the time, is collaborate. So welcome and thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here.
So I know that you are what I like to call a Renaissance man. And by Renaissance man, I mean that you do a little bit of everything. So where would you like to start in terms of telling those that are listening a little bit about yourself? Because I think we're going to have a series of conversations, so we can't talk about everything today. So if you'll just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and we'll try to hone in on a topic, and then we'll bring you back and we'll talk some more.
Okay. I'm a adult, grown man, but I think the beginning is with my parents, with my mom and dad. They've been very supportive of me when I was younger and gave me a good start, and that's kind of what put me on the path to who I am today.
And who do you think you are?
I'm the producer.
And when you say you are the producer, what does that vision look like for you?
The vision is nobody's going to do it for me. If I need to create it, I have to become it or create it myself. If it's a word that needs to be spoken, I got to speak it. Quick story. The other day, I needed comfort. So I prayed for comfort. And a couple hours later, I was the one giving comfort to someone else, my son. And I experienced the comfort because I gave it to him. So you have to become what you desire. So that's
You are speaking absolute truth. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that if you speak it, I not only speak it, I write it, I journal, I do vision boards. So I spent most of January creating what was going to be a vision board but became a vision collage. And then I created like 2 or 3 vision boards, and I've been writing in my journal. And so part of what I'm hoping at Ancestral Muses is that as people listen, they become aware that when I decided to become an attorney, I knew no attorneys. No one in my family had been an attorney. No one in my immediate family had graduated from college nor gone to graduate school. But through hard work and visualizing it happened. And I've used that as a springboard to do many things. It's afforded me opportunities to travel. And like you, it would not have been possible had it not been for me knowing within my heart that my ancestors, that my lineage, my people come from Cuthbert, Georgia. And my first trip to Africa was to Ghana. And in Cuthbert, Georgia, where I was born, my mother and father were born, there is this red clay. And when I went to Ghana, that was the first thing that I saw was red clay. And I was like, I'm home.
Yeah.
So you have these things that happen in your life. I sometimes call them synchronicities, where things happen and you know that you were doing right, that you were on the right path.
Yeah, like signs. You know, they say no one's gonna come down and say you're doing the right thing. But I believe if you tune in to what's going on, you can see there's no coincidence with God. So you can see if something lines up. And that's something that's really gotten me to where I am now. Just actually, even literally, reading signs. You know, like when I was driving over to, when I was driving from Florida to Portland, which was one of the biggest trips of my life. It was just me in the car. So to amuse myself, I would read every sign. And after every sign I read, I noticed I was kind of shape-shifting and becoming what that sign was saying. Like, for instance, I was riding through Missouri. And so I read the sign, state of Missouri. And when I just entered that land, I took on the form of what that meant to me. Maybe subconsciously, but to me, that was like misery. And then I had this feeling, like this big feeling that like it was going to be tough, and I started praying. So I do that a lot because I'm big about driving. I like driving. I love focusing and driving. And so one thing that's helped me on the road is reading signs. And some people don't know, like, they rely on GPS, but I can get around with a map. I can get around just, it'll tell you, like, exit to I-4, 2 exits. So I read a lot, you know, and that's something I learned in Portland. I learned how to read the book of life, you know, read people and situations, and that came from, you know, the beginning stages of that, which is just reading books. When I kind of had my life change, I started reading. I read all the time. I read so many books, and I have a bookshelf, and that, to me, that's my money. All that knowledge that I got, you know, when I couldn't go out there and do it, I know you're a big doer, I just read it and just kind of put it in me. And so reading books helped me read situations and people and kind of what the Spirit is saying.
And I totally agree. And I too am a firm believer in reading. In fact, I may be behind the times.
That is a good book. Tell me what that is.
I just read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Oh, great book.
And so I know there are people, and you know, I'm not like downing people that do audiobooks. I mean, however you get it. I mean, if it's as you're driving, you need to hear it, but I like the physical book. And this book, what can I say about this book? I mean, I keep a journal, and as I was reading it, there were certain phrases that stuck out for me. And so I'm just going to share a little bit. So he says here that he asks, what is a personal calling? And he says, it is God's blessing. It is the path that God chose for you here on earth. He says, a lot of times, however, we don't have the courage to confront our own dreams. And I think that's true. I think what happens is people are afraid. They let fear dictate. They let it get up in their head and don't want to take a chance, or don't want to go with the flow, or just give it to God or the universe and say it will be what it will be. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he says that there are 4 obstacles that keep people basically from being what they can be, or being all that they can be. And he says, first, we are told from childhood onward that everything we want to do is impossible. We grow up with this idea, and as the years accumulate, so too do the layers of prejudice, fear, and guilt. And so he says, but you know, you gotta have the courage to not believe that, to step outside, to take a chance. Okay, take a leap of faith. And then he says that the second obstacle is love. He says we know what we want to do, but are afraid of hurting those around us by abandoning everything in order to pursue our dream. We do not realize that love is just a further impetus, not something that will prevent us going forward. We do not realize that those who genuinely wish us well want us to be happy and are prepared to accompany us on that journey. But as you and I know, not everybody wants you to be happy. Not everybody wants you to be all that you can be. So you have to be able to discern, you know, who you can roll with that's going to be on the same path or heading in the same direction. And along the way, as you know, people are going to fall off. It doesn't mean, I always say that people come in your life for a reason or a season. Mm-hmm. And you have to, as you grow, be able to distinguish, well, yeah, you came in my life for a reason or a season. Mm-hmm. And it will be what it will be. Mm-hmm. So then he says the third obstacle is fear of the defeats we will meet on the path. We who fight for our dreams suffer far more when it doesn't work out because we cannot fall back on the old excuse, oh, well, I didn't really want it anyway. So it's kind of like you talk yourself out of the act of actually doing. But I've always believed, because I've tried to do a bunch of things and failed miserably. But for me, I'm still succeeding because now I know what not to do the next time. So for me, failure is kind of like success.
Yeah.
But how many people never put themselves out there to even try to fail?
Yeah.
They just kind of stay in their little miserable little space and complain all the time and don't realize that within them they have the capacity to change and make things happen.
Exactly.
Okay? And so then I'm trying to see what the fourth one is real quick, and I had written it in the journal, so let's see if I can. The fourth obstacle, the fear of realizing the dream for which we fought all our lives.
Oh, wow.
So the bottom line is, so after all this like angst of like working hard and visualizing and writing and dreaming and being proactive, then it actually happens. And so this quote just said it all. Oscar Wilde said, "Each man kills the thing he loves."
Wow. Yeah. I've been there.
As have I.
Yeah.
But you persevere and you power through.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great book. Great book. Well written. Has some foreign, I think that book is written in like many, many languages.
Absolutely. I can't even tell you how many different languages this has been. It says it's been translated into 60 languages. It's sold more than 65 million copies in 150 countries. So this is a book that Raphael and I both highly recommend that you read.
Speaking of books, guess
yes.
what I got?
Oh, he just showed me Producer Instruction Manual written by none other than Raphael Polk. Let's go there. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's a book that I wrote after my drive from Florida to Portland on those 4 nights. By the end of that saga, we'll call it a saga, I ended up in Sali, West Africa, in Dakar, Senegal. I was in Dakar, Senegal, and then my wife took us to the beach, and the beach was called Sali. And there I had a lot of time to explore the mind and capabilities of the producer and the limitations and how he behaves and things like that, the mind, the producer. And I wrote this book, The Producer Instruction Manual. This book is created because when I had my first son, I had to think, I thought to myself, I said, what can I teach my son? What do I actually know? Like what is my knowledge that I can pass down to him? That is what this book is, the Producer Instruction Manual. So to my son, Muhammad Polk, my firstborn, I wrote this book, Producer Instruction Manual. And this is the collection of what it means to be a producer. And the take on this book is that if you've never been a producer before, or if you're interested in producing, or you've been thinking about it, and you don't know where to start, because I found out a lot of people just don't know where to start. They don't know, if they got to get the equipment, if they got to get a friend, they need a studio, they need connections. Touch this book, pick up this book, touch this book, and it is the beginning of you becoming a producer.
So is this book still currently available? And if so, where can people find it?
It is available. The first place I like people to get the book is from our website, RaphaelPolk.com.
And I'm glad you went there, because this has been a recent metamorphosis for you, has it not?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit? Like how you went from, I know you had many enterprises out there. Do you want to talk about any of those enterprises, and then kind of like what led you to say, I need to narrow my focus?
Yeah. That's it. You nailed it. It was a lot of enterprises, a lot of aliases. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And then I needed to focus, and I had to stop running for myself, cause my name is Raphael Polk. That's what my parents gave me, and it's been my name for 30 years now, and everything's attached to it. I have friends attached to it, moods, arguments, everything's attached to my name. So at this period, God just really wiped the slate for me. He said, "You're fresh. You got a baby boy, you got a wife, you have the producer, you know me by my name." And I said, I'm not going to run for myself. I am Raphael Polk. My name is Raphael Polk. And I'm the producer. And so I just came out with my name. And what happened this time around was that I knew the map. Like, now that I'm being Raphael Polk and not Kratom Sound or Live to Give Records or Corpus Christi or He Flew Pain. Now I'm not doing all these other things. I just put it all into my name, and I got a fresh slate, and I can see that I can see the map and just see that okay, I know maybe these people aren't gonna like me because they didn't like me before, but now I know. I'm not like curious like why don't they like me or something like that, or I know this person's gonna attract to me because they attracted to me before the first time way around. I guess what I'm trying to explain without getting too spooky is just pretty much being born again. So it's my second time coming around, and so I remember what happened the first time around, and so that's all it's about. It's about I mastered myself. I mastered my name.
You learned lessons. So again, when I was talking about success or failing at something, not that necessarily these other entities were failures. Did you think they were failures, or were you at that time just like most of us experimenting and finding your way and trying? Because I think we're a lot alike in the sense that I'm always accused of doing this, that, and the other, and I do. But then eventually you realize that what you have to do is you do for whatever your dream is, you have to focus just on that. But it's in the doing of these other things that gets you to become focused. So these other entities, can we just talk a little bit about each of them and what they were about and how doing that led you to the realization, which is essentially what the alchemist is at one level. It's a journey, one man's journey, who was in search of something, and then eventually he came to the realization that a lot of what he was searching for, as we know, is where? Inside of you.
You understand better than I did. You keep nailing it. You're nailing it like you're saying it way better than I can say it. But
no, but this is what we're just having a conversation. So, of the entities that you named, which one did you first do?
Okay. All right. IBX. IBX was my first entity started in high school. It stood for the Ill Beat Squad. I was making the beats. It's funny because it was the best experience I could ever do at that age. And, we made it up. And the funny thing is, we're IBX, but it stood for the LB Squad. So we told people the S and the Q stood for X. Like, so it didn't really all the way make sense, but nobody, everybody rolled with it because we made good music. So it was IBX, and it's a group of friends from high school. And we were small Lake Mary celebrities doing parties, performing.
Because you did graduate from Lake Mary High School. I just discovered that, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And, so that was IBX, and it had good music, good energy. We had the image, And so after that, I moved on to Live to Give Records. Live to Give Records was supposed to be a non-profit record label. I handled all the business, set it up, organized it. But something was missing. Our hearts were in the right places, but there's a reason nobody has a non-profit record label. Record labels need money.
Yes.
And it just, we didn't have a good model. Our hearts were in the right place. Like, we're making music that's priceless. We're teaching people it's gospel, it's Jesus, and we're doing this and that. But it just couldn't sustain as a business or a nonprofit.
Right.
I still have parts of me, and I'm glad you said that because these entities aren't like bad or anything. It's just that, and you're right. It brought me to where I am now, and it's part of the journey.
It helped you evolve.
Yeah, and I tell you, I have every single one of these things. I'm still, not promoting it, but like I remember them.
Well, it's a part of who you are. It's like part of your DNA. It was part of your maturation process to get you to be who you are, to realize like, hey, I don't really need all of these other things because it's all within me. All I need is me and what? My God.
You're nailing it.
Okay. Synchronicity.
You're doing such a good. All right, so I'm gonna try to explain a little bit more. So, here we go. So that was Live to Give Records, nonprofit record label, and that group was based in Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
West Coast.
But you're East Coast.
Yeah, I'm born in grew up in Lake Mary, and so in 2011, I went to my grandma's house for a family reunion. Long story short, I never came back. I liked it out there. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna stay.
Portland is on my list of places to go.
You gotta love it.
I hear it's gorgeous.
Mountains, forests. Quick side note: I have a friend, Joseph Neese, and he's really into like the woods, and he would always call me like, "Hey, we're gonna go run in the forest." And they have a big old forest, and we were just running in the forest. And days like that, I got a lot of fresh air, and I stopped getting so attached to the city and the cars and the music, and just go out in the forest. And it's not like a quick reward, like maybe a cup of coffee or maybe going to church to get emotions and stuff. But going into nature and just placing yourself in the nature, it was really therapeutic.
So see, that brings me to something else. I mean, okay, so I'm kind of like, because I know people from all over the world, and people have different beliefs, and over the years I've come to kind of dabble and pick and choose, and I love having new experiences. And so yoga is something I need to do more of, but there's something to be said for being grounded. If you know about chakras and the meaning of chakras and being grounded, being in nature, and for most of us here in Florida, if you were born and raised in Florida, then you know green and beaches. You may not know cold and mountains, and that's a different kind of a spiritual vibe when you're out in nature in some place like Oregon, where it's you, the mountains, huge trees, and it really makes you realize that how insignificant in the greater scheme of things that you are, but it also hopefully opens you up to the majesty.
It's humbling.
It is very humbling. It is, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I went in the forest with him, and then after that I would go with my friends. I had a group, a small collective, and I just found a collective of musicians and artists from being in the community, and that's something big that I learned in Portland. I learned community. I remember my first day in Portland, I took a walk around the block, right? I'm in a little neighborhood, and everything's kind of close, so you just walk around the block. I walked around the block. There was a big group of people creating what's called a memorial on the ground. Mm-hmm. Like they had a mural, They had a painting that they're painting the intersection, and they had and they're like, hey, you want to come paint? And I painted my green stuff, and I had a little spot. That was on the first day.
Wow.
So yeah, that's where Live to Give Records came from, and you're right, it was a different spiritual experience. So I was tapping into something different than what I was tapping into here in Lake Mary. So that's Live to Give Records, and so we did that, and I formed a lot of things. I still have shirts, which I'm gonna get you a shirt. I told you I was gonna get you a shirt.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna get you a Live to Give Records shirt. Yeah, they're really nice.
So you have like all of these enterprises going on? Are people like paying attention that you can be whatever you want to be, just have the dream and make it happen, manifest it?
Yeah. And so that was Liberty Records. So then I moved on to Kratom Sound. Kratom Sound was about money. It was about selling beats to get money. I tried a nonprofit, so I'm like, I'm going to go for profit. So Kratom Sound, it's just a big catalog of beats. I'm actually, like I said, these are things that I was full into and investing into, but I'm dissolving all these different parts to focus on Raphael Polk, which is my name, and start bringing credit to my name. You know, my transgressions were kind of, wiped. And so now I can give credit to myself. Like, I used to be the type of guy where I would put a lot of other people before me. So I'd be like, oh, he's better, or they're better. But now I'm like, hey, I can do things too. I'm talented. I don't really have to take second place all the time.
No.
Yeah.
I think a part of as one grows is you realize that there are times when you have to kind of go in what I call hermit mode, or not really be antisocial, but in order to focus, you need, or I need silence, or I need music to inspire me. And in the background, we are listening to music. It's from Ghana.
Great. I love it.
Because
I'm rocking. It's a vibe.
I love to travel. I know you love to travel.
Yeah.
And I know that music is one of your first loves. And whenever I travel, I bring back music from wherever I've gone. And there is something universal about music and art. And that's kind of sort of like when I was coming up with the name for the podcast, ancestral, because I wanted to pay homage to my people and the people that came before me, that came before all of us.
Yeah.
And for me, I identify with the continent of Africa. That's the source for me. But also, my people in Georgia who, they were not able to get an education, and I was. And just wanting to share what I know, what I have, and just let people know, you don't necessarily have to toil all your life working for somebody when you can work for yourself. You can be your own business, be an entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera. Cool. Okay, so now you are coming into what we'll call a sense of self.
Okay. Coming into a sense of self.
Yes, where you recognize you got everything you need within you. And so, what does that look like?
That looks like Godspeed. That looks like a man-child, man-boy, whatever you want to call it, a man-boy that is in Florida, and he's on the road in the middle of the country with $20 in a box of CDs. It's pouring rain in the morning. He's blasting T.I. Paper Trail music. He has his windows down. He has a big furry hat that's made in China, a jacket, some Michael Jordan shoes on, some glasses, and he is just driving his tail off to get to his wife. And there's nothing that can stop him, because you can't stop in the middle. You can't stop. You just can't stop. I thought about going to the nearest airport and just flying the rest, or flying back home. I thought about, instead of going to Portland, going to New York and testing my luck there. But when I was in the middle of the journey, I had to keep going, and it worked. I got to my destination, which was my grandma's house. I knocked on her door late at night. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Surprise!
What are you doing here? I just drove from Florida. And that's one night. That's 20 minutes from one night. Then you have like a straight shot, narrow straight shot, no police, no lights, on just a straight shot. So I turn up Beyonce's song, blasting Beyonce, and I decide I'm gonna go 80 miles per hour. I'm gonna go 80 miles. So what I did that night in those days, I created what I call plays, like plays from a playbook, because just like what your podcast is about, we need a muse. I can't just drive. So I was keeping myself excited, thrilled, and I tapped into something. Once I hit Godspeed, I tapped into something that I didn't know existed, but I kind of broke the time barrier, and I started being able to forecast what was going to be in front of me. And I would say, the quickest thing to come off my mind, Christmas tree. And I say Christmas tree, and I'll be driving. 10 minutes later, I look up in someone's house, I see Christmas tree. So, like, just little things like that. And I don't want to get too spooky.
No, you're not spooky because, people have got to understand, this is, in my opinion, this is the universe confirming for you that you are on the right path. Because I experienced the same thing, and that's a whole nother podcast. But Godspeed, I know, but everyone else doesn't know what that is. Mm-hmm. That it's an actual album.
Yeah.
That you produce, create. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so Godspeed is the name of my album that is about the 4 nights it took me to drive from Florida to Portland. Now, a little bit about the music. The music is 100% produced by me, the producer. Now, what I did on this album was I took my whole catalog that goes as far back currently as about 2000, let's say 16, and it's 2020 now. So out of all these beats I've had for years, I went through and looked for certain elements in different beats. And what I could do is I could take a beat that I made 6 months ago. I had beats that I made 6 months ago. And out of that collection, I would find one that has the vibe that I was trying to push off. And then I would go to another collection of beats. Like I have a collection called Feel Better. There's all these beats called Feel Better 1, Feel Better 2. I would go through the Feel Betters and say, oh, I like this one. So the beats, even though they're all made by me, the producer, they're kind of different genres and times. They're sampled from different times. So it's not the same sound.
Okay.
I mean, it's me producing it, but it sounds from over the years and different emotions and different concepts. I have music where I was trying to make money, and I named them $1 Million or Money for Me. And so I picked the beat from the Money collection. So it's different sounds, and that's where the music comes from. And of course, I produced it on FL Studio. I had a Core Karma keyboard, my PreSonus mixer, a drum machine by Native Instruments, and all my tools, my equipment. And then as far as the songwriting goes, that's when it really got fun because I stuck to the script. Mm-hmm. I decided this is my story that I'm going to talk about. Even though I have other stories about different things, traveling, I wrote this to myself. I'm going to make a living as a songwriter selling this one story, this exclusive story. I'm going to tell the story over and over in different ways, and that's what I'm going to do. And so I stuck to the script. I wrote songs. I'll tell you the track list if I can remember them. The track list, it starts off with the first song is called Magic Beans. I'm not going to tell you too much, but go check it out. Next song after that is Tomorrow We Will See, followed by Godspeed, followed by Police Is Sleep, followed by Super Ice, followed by Somebody Pray, followed by Potion, followed by Spaceship, and it ends with a song called 24s or 20
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the album. It's written by me, and then to give credit to everyone who helped me, my guy Avion recorded at his studio here in Lake Mary. He has a nice studio. He did me a favor and recorded me, and then I got a mix by a team called Hidden Hand, which all these guys are local. So I support the local music industry, the local businesses, and that's how I did it, and it's a testament to me being the producer because I had to work out logistics, I had to work out the budget, I had to work out getting the songs polished, getting them professionally mixed and mastered. So it's just what I do. I do it because it's who I am, and that's when I'm being fulfilled, and that's what Godspeed's about. And the name, I had a lot of different names for this album, and I led up to a lot of different names, and I landed on Godspeed because that captures the energy and of course the religious topics that I hit on, and it also talks. I just wanted people to feel the emotion in the music. It's not music you just kind of, it's vision, and it's gonna get you moving. It's gonna ignite the story in you. So that's what Godspeed's about. I think they get it now.
I think you're right. So now the other thing that occurred to me, because somebody listening to this is like thinking, well, oh my goodness, how or where did you acquire the skills to do this? Like osmosis, or I know, but they don't know about your educational background, that you went in. Okay.
Yeah. I've been doing music
Okay.
since 6th grade.
Okay.
I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing music. I pulled up this program. This is way back in when the Napster, and these guys know it. What's it called? Morpheus.
So are these like programs?
Yeah, these are
apps?
programs.
Okay, because remember, we're learning through each other here.
Yeah, this is when the internet like really got good.
Okay.
It got faster, and there's programs called Kazaa and Morpheus where you could download anything.
Okay.
It's like the Matrix. You
So these are music making apps, what you call them, or no?
No, Morpheus and Kazaa are programs that you used to put on your computer, and I don't promote them anymore. I pay for all my stuff now.
Okay.
But you can download anything for
Oh,
free.
any music.
I got programs, movies,
I got you. Okay.
Apps.
Yes.
Yeah. So back in the day, that's what people were doing when the internet got good.
Yes.
It got faster, and you had people on AIM. And so basically, long story short, but I'm going to tell you the good story. I downloaded FL Studio, opened it up. I'm like, this looks like an alien spacecraft. All the buttons and knobs and colors, and I'm like, what do you possibly do with this? Close the program, threw it away. I guess my curiosity got me, but I opened it back up a couple weeks later, and it's been nonstop. So I've been doing music since middle school. And my friend who called me today, Woody, we started doing DJing. We DJ'd in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, making good money.
So music has always been a part of who you are, which is such an apt plug-in for this podcast, Ancestral Muses, because muses, that concept comes from the Greek mythology, and there are different muses, and one of them is music and art. And so that's why when I was thinking up the concept and the name, I was like, how many people do you know that are artists, that are musicians, that are all these things, and it will fit so nicely. So see, how cool.
Yeah.
And that was part of when you and I met at Fusion Fest. I was like, we need to talk. Yeah. We need to get together.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's very cool.
It is very cool. So music has always been a first love for you.
It just fills the blank space, fills the void. I listen to music all the time, like when I'm washing dishes. I know when I was a kid, when I clean up, I love listening to music, and people used to tell me that a lot with my older albums in Portland. They're like, every time I listen to music, it makes me want to clean up.
Well, I listen to music all the time, and it's so funny because over the past couple days, I'm a little older than you, but I was going old school, listening to like Barry White, and
voice.
I may be one of the few people still that has like a record player with LPs. Yeah. Okay, I know they're coming back, so all you people that threw away your albums, shame on y'all, okay?
That's actually me.
Shame on y'all, because, music from back in the day, like my generation, Earth, Wind, and Fire, but, I listen to all kinds of music, but, having albums, because the art was off the chain. I mean, just looking at the the covers of CDs and what they were saying, and that, you know, back in the day there were musicians who made use of entire orchestras, like Barry White and Love Unlimited. And it just like blows my mind, which is not to denigrate from the new generation of musicians, where you all, not saying you, but a lot of it seems to be more computer based, which I mean, evolution. But back in the day, I mean, just to have like a violin section be in the background and like Bobby Humphrey on the flute.
That's when producers were having a lot of fun, I tell you, because they were really important. It's like you couldn't do a track without a producer, because the producer put the whole thing together. He would bring in the songwriter, he would bring in the guitar soloist, and he would see it all. He would see it all before it happens, and he'd be in charge of conducting the studio session, getting that perfect sound out of the artist, or getting the perfect lick out of the guitarist. And they would put together the budget, and then, they're responsible for the production of that record. Like the artist, is in charge of the recording and the performance on the record, and making sure his image is what he was agreed to. But the producer had a big responsibility back in the days. From the guy who produced the Beach Boys to the guy who produced what's his name, Michael Jackson, to the guys who produced even I think the latest, one of the best producers that we had, and I'm talking about R&B, was like Babyface and L.A. Reid.
Now, I gotta disagree, because you may or may not know that I grew up in Philadelphia. In Philly, back in the day, and still to some extent now, we had music. I mean, but okay, I don't have a problem with Babyface, but
well, everyone's included. I'm saying, I'm sorry. All right, let me clarify.
No,
I read the book. I read their book. I read the book on L.A. Reid. It's called Singing to Me, and I took a trip through his life where, he said, the people started changing, because the producer would do so much, and artists would think they're getting cheated out of their royalties. Or sometimes producers can be really pushy and like dictatorship, and they're like, I want it like this, sing like this, and then they make the artist feel like he's not valuable, or doesn't have any say in his craft, But I was just, I did study a handful of producers from around the world, and I just think back in the day, they really were important, because, the artists really couldn't bring in, like a orchestra, and I'm saying that they could, but it's just, back in the day, like you're saying, the music was more complex.
Yes.
Now we can sit at the computer. Like I said, I use a Chord Karma, FL Studio, Personas Mixer, Machine. That's like 4 instruments, and they're all on my computer desk, pretty much. And I can do a whole thing there. And I do agree with you. The music back in the day was more rich. And
yes, for me, I think what it was is reason why it's timeless and why it lives on, is because the artists were writing about experiences that we could all relate to. And nothing against, because I do listen to some rap, not a lot of rap, but the lyrics were things that we could identify to and with. And so now some of the lyrics use language that I'm like, I ain't feeling no love, but it again is an evolution. And so it strikes me when I referred to you earlier as being a Renaissance man or Renaissance individual, that you do it all, which is a good thing. So I think that's also a valuable point that I want to make to everybody. The more that not just about the business and you've done that too, because you know what it's like to incorporate. You know what it's like. You tried to do the nonprofit thing, and you're like, that ain't going to work. So then you had to go to a capitalist model or whatever. The point is, the more you know, the more you know, the better off you are because you retain control over your product.
Okay,
And that gets into another podcast.
Yeah.
Because I am an attorney and there are legal things that people should be aware of. And so we will have a series. We will speak again about some of the issues. Yes.
Can I plug my website?
You can. I was going to ask you to tell us about the website and give us your website.
All right. So I want everyone to visit RaphaelPolk.com. That's Raphael with a PH. RaphaelPolk. RaphaelPolk.com. I want y'all to visit it and just check it out. You don't have to buy anything. There's a lot of things that are free, or some things just ask for your email address. I have a beat of the day for people who want to download the beat and make some songs to it or need it for background music or just want to listen to something.
He's speaking to me because I'm learning, and you will probably hear like my phone ringing in the background and all this other stuff because I'm trying to teach myself how to become the producer. But another conversation, and so perhaps I will purchase the manual. But I'm hopeful that as you listen, and you'll see that I've been very blessed to meet people who have skills that I do not. And that is the whole concept for me of one of my core words for 2020, which is collaboration. If I don't know it, I try to teach it to myself, or I try to connect with someone. Connect is another key word. They're all C words. I might have to look at the vision board and I'll share with you what those are.
How about community?
Community. I'm very big on community.
C words.
Yes. And so you can leave comments. The podcast platform that I'm using, Anchor, I believe it allows you to leave comments. And so please leave comments. And until we meet again, I'm going to end it right here. And I want to thank you, Raphael, for stopping by.
Thank you, Miss Pamela.
And I'm sure we will be talking again.
Ancestral Muses.
Okay, so let's see.
We did it.
Okay, so
it's still
stop.
recording.
Well, we did it. It's right.